Here we go. Go ahead and say hi. Hi and welcome. I'm live on Instagram, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. This is also a podcast. So, welcome to Decoding Business Wisdom. This is a part of our bigger look at magnified abundance. And when I say magnified, there's two concepts to the word magnified. There's taking this closer look, but there's also like magnifying something and making it grander, bigger. And when we talk about abundance, not simply talking about money, but abundance meaning that we are having freedom. Abundance meaning that we are the opposite of scarcity and survival. So maybe we could think of it as like the word thrive was really popular. I think it still kind of is popular, but really this opposite feeling of scarcity and survival. And in this series, particularly, we take a look at these really popular quotes and how we can apply them into our business, into our lives. And today's a fun one. You probably heard some of these before. So, this one, you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. And although this sounds nice, light, and fluffy, let's take a little bit deeper look at this quote. One thing that I see that happens a lot for people in business is that we come into it with many certifications, with past degrees or past experience, and we become very attached to how do I make all of it work together because we fear wasting or we like wasting our experience. We fear, oh, but I have all this experience and I want to make sure that they know this experience up front. And this happens very much so if you are more heavily in the business world or you're more heavily in the spiritual world. I see this hard transfer, and it's normally because we have some form of attachment to what we did. I'm going to give you an example. So, I have a very big background in yoga and psychology, in spiritual, in energetic work, mind body therapy, sports medicine, all of that. And then I went and got my MBA. And suddenly it was kind of one of this all or none. I have to choose one path because it was hard to interweave it all because I wanted to prove myself, I think is really what some of that feeling was. So within the business world, I didn't talk about my spiritual side and my background and all of this because I wanted to be taken serious over there. But I definitely was implementing it. Now, when I was over in just the spiritual world, I'm like, oh, but I also have an MBA and I'm trying to like prove myself over there. And what was happening was it was bringing this energy of like having to prove myself. Now, I'm going to come back to that story and that example and how I worked through that. But I also see this for a lot of my friends who are leaving more of this corporate world and they are moving into the spiritual world. And you don't necessarily, in your upfront branding, you don't necessarily, not meaning that you can't, say like, "Oh, but I wanna use this and I wanna use this." And I really just want to say this, that you can never undo you as far as, like, you're always going to bring your experience and your wisdom from all these paths to wherever you land. So, as we are looking at this quote, you are never too old to set another goal or to dream another dream. Just because maybe you're like, I'm going to switch careers completely and I'm going to go open a restaurant. I'm not, but maybe one day. But what you've learned in all these other paths is going to come with you regardless. Your ability to manage the team, your ability to tell people what they need to do, your ability for great customer service, whatever that might be, is going to come with you. What we are really needing to do is to honor that some parts of us, some paths that we were on, is that was that. And I'm letting go of it and I'm releasing it. And whatever I need now will present itself. And yes, that can be a very spiritual way of looking at it, but literally when we detach from it, we can allow what we need to just surface and fill in the gaps. It's when we are trying to hang on to this and hang on to that and hang on to that, we're trying to make all of it work at the same time. We're not in a state of allowing. And when we really look at abundance in its truest form, is allowing and releasing the attachment. It's kind of that saying that is like, if you love something, let it go, and if it's meant to be, it'll return kind of quote. Like it is that. That is abundance, meaning like I'm not going to be attached to my past. Now, I am going to say, how can I utilize my past? And that was where it is an exploration. It is a path of taking imperfect action. It's a path of just stepping into something and trusting your own wisdom and to use your experience. For example, I deeply love working with hypnotherapists, energy workers, and people that are in the spiritual lane, and applying my business side as well as my experience in all of that and the thought process of that, and helping them with their business. That was one way that I found I can merge it all together. I can share my wisdom and go, "Well, hey, have you thought about adding this into your program? Hey, have you learned anything about this? I think it would be a great interweave into the program." And being able to use this vast amount of knowledge in a different way. And then when I'm in the business world and I'm working, this ability for teamwork and this ability to sense what people need is a really great tool. Now, am I gonna go in there and say like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a Reiki master," and these things, like, they aren't going to understand that. So we have to do is we have to take what we are good at and translate it into that language. So often we are stuck in certain words and stuck in certain energy and stuck in certain language. And that's really where that attachment, if we can let go of that and say, what is it that they need? And now coming back to the aspect of us, and we're never too old to set another goal, to dream another dream. That we have to be okay with going, you know what? I spent most of this life in this world, and I'm ready to step into a new world and trust that all these tools and experience will support me within this path as well. And I've seen this. I went to college for a really long time. And I would absolutely love when I would see people, maybe they got laid off, maybe they were retiring, and they would go back to school to start a new career or just to start learning something new. That we have seasons throughout our year, we have seasons throughout our life, and to allow your life to just evolve. That at, at any point in your life, you can say, you know what? I want to start a new career. Because in all reality, like you think about it, like 10 years in something is a long time. 5 years in something can be a long time. But the amazing impact that you can bring to whatever career or field or industry that you want to jump into, you are going to bring all of this beautiful wisdom, experience, and everything to it. Now, sometimes it's not the way that we thought. It's like, well, over in this side of the world, this is, in this industry, this is how we do things. But if I get too attached to that, I don't allow myself to explore how it's being done this way. and saying, "Oh, these are the things I see you're doing really well. Have you all ever thought about approaching it from this way too? And maybe creating a hybrid of this sense?" Because we always have to allow ourselves to listen. We always have to allow ourselves to learn. We should always, what's the saying? Listen twice as much as we speak. We have two ears versus one mouth. Time and time again, whether I'm doing mediation, whether I'm listening to what a client wants, I often find, even when I'm working with clients, it's the client that talks and talks and talks and talks, and they never stop to even listen to what I say. It makes the relationship very difficult to create what they're wanting, because I can't ask them a question because they're talking so much. But I also have to watch myself to say, am I allowing them to talk so that I can hear? So whether you are the expert or the client. Now, you're never too old to dream. So noticing that, we have Chat GPT nowadays. It can assist you in ideas. It can help you with writing or editing a book. Never takes the place of a real person that has a lot of experience. But if you want to write the book, if you want to start your own business, if you want to design a course, if you want to become a yoga teacher at 60 or 70, like, all of these things are possible. The only person that will limit you is you. And within whatever you do, I promise there's always scholarships. There's always some free course. There's always something that you can explore. The library is still a wonderful place. There are books out there. There are plenty of people giving away free books all the time, free ebooks. So I recommend that you always have a dream. And this was one of our lessons in yoga class this last Friday, was creating more play in your day. That the biggest preventative action that you can take from memory loss, whether it be dementia or Alzheimer's, is actually play. Because if you think about it, when we get serious, there's this tension, there's this contraction. And abundance is this, like, release. Abundance is this expansive feeling, which is the opposite of contraction. And our body, of course, has layers of contraction. Like, I can tense tightly, I can tense softly, I can be completely relaxed, or I can be tense. So when we are approaching whatever we are in life, if we can add more of that play, and when we think about dreaming, when we think about hope and faith and just being in this more expansive state, dreaming is in that expansive state. So allowing ourselves to dream, allowing ourselves to have goals, allowing ourselves to have something to look forward to that is creating the play, the hope, the trust, the faith. Because if we don't have something in our life that we can tap into that feeling, then life gets really tense and we get into survival mode. And when we get into survival mode, we actually tend to hinder our health. So we're more prone to inflammation because we're tensing all the time. We're not breathing as deep. We're, risking our memory and our brain health, as well as we're putting ourselves at risk for all these other things. And so when we can bring more of this dreaming, more of this play, more of these big, luscious goals, and not listening to all the naysayers, having something to work towards, having that faith, having something there is vital, not only for our mental and physical health, but genuinely, like, the world will only get better if we are all striving for better, and striving for better in an abundant way, not in a scarcity or survival way. All right. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. How does this fall? How does this land with you? I would also love to hear about what goals and dreams you are working towards. I know sometimes we don't always have the support systems that we need. We might have more of the naysayers. So if you need to share it with someone who's like, yeah, goals, I would love to hear those. You can create accountability just by messaging me and say, this is my goal, and then update me on where you're at with that. There's no cost to that. And I love seeing those, love hearing those. So I would love to say that. And I really, truly believe I'm huge about manifesting, um, speaking or typing, like bringing it into the physical form, putting intention behind it and saying, I really want to achieve this. And just putting that out there to inform, maybe I go, oh my gosh, I know someone who can help you with that. Uh, Putting it out there is huge. Having people ask you questions about it is huge. Just to go, oh, that's really interesting. Well, tell me more about that. And you're like, I'm not really sure. Allow it to keep spewing out. The more and more you talk about it, the more clarity you will get. That is how I make things happen. I talk about it and talk about it with people, and I get their ideas and I get their input. It doesn't mean I have to accept all of the input, but by hearing it, it spurs more ideas and refines more and more clarity. Like, we have to talk about our dreams. We have to talk about our goals. Who you talk about it to is always maybe slightly different, but never stop setting goals. Never stop dreaming, and allow yourself to be aware of how much attachment we put on trying to cling to how we think things should be. Anytime the word should comes up, I'm like, let that be a little alarm to go, ooh, I should explore that more. All right. Thank you for joining. This is episode 15 of Decoding Wisdom. Sometimes it's more specifically about life. It's always being able to fit into our business. Today we were talking about, setting these goals, dreaming bigger, allowing yourself to know that you're never too old, and also recognizing this attachment if we are switching careers. Thanks for joining me. I'm Izzy Nally. I'll see you on the next one, Decoding Business Wisdom.